Welcome back to Cash and Sass, the podcast where we ditch the shame, talk real numbers, and build bold, bankable wealth without sacrificing who we are. I'm your host, Lisa Marie, fractional CFO, money mentor, and the sassy wealth queen behind Transcendent Wealth Co. Today's conversation is about money, but not in the way you're used to. My guest, Diana Dorell, teaches that money behaves a lot like relationships. When trust is broken, safety is missing, or self-worth is shaky, money reflects it fast. We're talking nervous systems, yes, self-trust, intimacy, and why creating financial stability starts internally and not in a spreadsheet. I always say that. So let's get into it, as I always say. And you know me, we're going to dive straight in. Welcome. And my first question, I truly appreciate you being here first. And I just
Thank
want
you
to
for
dive
having
into it.
me.
You in there, it says it, you compare money to dancing, and which I love because I think of it as a dance partner, right? And relationships. So I want to know I want you to tell my listeners, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, I see money as a partnership. It's not something outside of ourselves. It's like we get to collaborate and share and energize each other. And it hasn't always felt like that for me, but the way that I connected to dance, so I come from a dance background, used to be like professional ballerina, is like it requires the same skills as dance does, right? You need like that stability, you need nuance and variety, you need to feel free with your money. And you also need to feel like money has your back and you have its back. Otherwise, you're going to fall flat on your face on stage, right? You can't be just spacing out and hoping it all works out. And at the same time, there's this element of surrender, right? Once you've done
Mhm.
all that you can do, then something bigger takes over. And that's the collaborative energy that you have with money. It's the same as relationships. It's the same as like anything creative. So I work with a lot of artists and I use metaphors all the time. So I love that.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so my question is, how do people use money as a substitute of self-worth? Because, and we're going to get into even deeper because we were talking about leaning in and trusting and all of that. But how do people use money as a substitute for self-worth?
So a lot of times, this has come from like family programming or societal programming. And we think that because we own certain things, because
Mhm.
we buy certain things, because we present a certain way, that all of a sudden we are more important or like we have it all together. And I think, especially for women, this idea of having it all together is ingrained in us from a very young age. We are taught to please, we are taught to suppress our emotions, and we are taught to basically be just like overgivers with no ego and no preferences. And like somehow that makes us a good woman. And I'm here to just blast that shit wide open because it's really about balance with yourself. If you don't have any sense of identity outside what you are buying, outside what you are accumulating and building, then you're always going to be at the mercy of those things. And you're looking externally for something that will never truly fill you up. Now, when you have that anchored sense of self love and self worth, then you can make choices. And I love choices. I'm all about freedom. And you can totally enjoy your life. But any object that you buy, any way that you choose to present yourself or how you choose to dress is not for anybody else other than your own pleasure and your own authenticity. And that's when the
Right.
game changes. Then people actually bask in your energy. They want to be around you. You hear that like, she's got that it factor. What is she doing? And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the fact that she's wearing Chanel number 5. She just really likes Chanel number 5 and she's genuinely happy with her life. And that's why you want to be around her.
Right, right. I want to go back on the fact that if we're constantly looking for the external things and constantly spending the money, then we're never going to have enough no matter how much money we have
Like,
because we're not spending it intentionally. We're not buying things intentionally. We're buying things because there's something else really going on, mindset or subconsciously, because we're looking for, like what you're talking about, that outside factor. And when we are happy, and I don't say content, okay? because I'm not content, right? And I've made it very, very open. I'm very open about my journey from the food stamps and foreclosure and my journey in my business and all the shifts and all the business has taken. And, mentioned several times about Phoenix coming in and, burning things down and making me shift, and it's God's way of saying, hey, you're not listening. I want you to shift, right? And I still love my life. I still love my business. So I may, yes, am making a lot more, maybe some harder decisions. They're still intentional. And if I wasn't in that place, I would be doing exactly what you're talking about, Diana, right? I'd still be spending because I'm trying to find something, right? Or I would be deliriously, spinning off the edge. And yes, as a human, I'm sure I've thought about it. We have to rein ourselves back in, right? So it's really important that we understand that one, money is not a substitute for self worth.
Right.
And it's not going to, people always say money buys us happiness. Yeah. Money makes the world go round. And yes, you can buy things, but if you're not happy with who you are, then it's not going to actually make you happier. It's going to make you more miserable because you're never going to have enough. Because you're not going to feel like you never have enough, right? Or you're going to feel like it's going to disappear overnight. So I think that's really, really, really important. What happens financially when someone's nervous system is constantly activated? And I'm going to ask that because I've experienced that. So I want listeners to understand that they may not see it as quote unquote their nervous system, right? Because people are like, but when they're constantly activated, what does that look like?
Yeah. So starting in the body, and everybody's different, right? But like tightening of the throat, right? Tightening of the tummy, digestion issues, feeling like you're constantly getting migraines or headaches and not wondering why. Like I work with subtle energy, and anytime a client will tell me that or they have a random backache, I'm like, okay, like let's look at the other component here. What are you afraid to release? Right? What is an action that you are just ruminating over and over? And it could be about money, it could be about something else, but you're using money as a way to avoid feeling something, right? And it's usually about avoidance or denial, right? What are we denying that we feel? Somehow making ourselves feel wrong for feeling the way that we feel. And so the effect, I'm going to go swipe a credit card. I'm going to go feel better for 10 minutes. Right. And then I feel shame because why did I need that thing? And like we go in this weird spiral. So, how it affects your nervous system, it affects your sleep patterns. And in terms of money activities, it looks like an uptick in things that are short term pleasures, right? And justifications. And also, I will say on the opposite end, one of my big splurges, I happily invest in personal development and also my health. But there's been times where I now know, looking back on my journey, like I probably did that from nervous system deregulation, right? Because I didn't feel good about myself. And I'm like, this one program is going to solve it all. But I didn't have the skills or the
Right.
consistency built up to take advantage of that, right? And so like it isn't always about going and getting 1,000 shoes. Sometimes it's about stuff that's actually going to like help and change your life. But if your nervous system is not regulated to receive that and to anchor into that, then you're gonna create mixed results and think that it's everything is like outside of you's fault.
Yeah. And isn't that the same way with anchoring in to the money that you're making already in your
Yes.
business before receiving more? I'll use me as an example. When I was first looking at scaling my business and someone goes, okay, you want to make this much money. And I went to say it and it was like the tightness was everywhere. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, no. And it was like, and that was the first tip of, okay, wait a minute. Why? Why not? And then when I go, oh, yes, I do. But I was saying I do, but okay, what called, this is in a couple of days, but what was causing that? And then what it is we have to make sure that when we're steadily making the money that we're making, right? The money that's coming in, that we're like you're talking about, anchored into it, which funny, my word for this year is anchor.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's a great.
So we have to anchor into it, right? In order to be able to receive the additional thing, the additional amount of money. Because if we don't, I've seen it time and time again, we will sabotage it. It will be sabotaged. You will sabotage that additional money coming in. And then, like you said, you're going to blame everything going on when in
Mhm.
reality, we weren't ready to hold on to that, going from 200,000 to $500,000 a year, or
Exactly.
going from, we'll say 10K to 30K a month. You nervous system wise, you were freaking out. And if you're freaking out, you're not going to keep it. You're just not. So it affects that too, right? Because I mean, I've experienced that.
Yes. And also, like when you finally claim the amount of money that you want to call in, right? And then you see it and it's like, well, how long is it going to stay? Right? We don't go into celebration and like honoring the moment like, wow, okay, I claimed this desire. Here it is. It's arrived.
I
And
dance. I now
yeah.
do. I celebrate it. I dance.
Oh, good. Good. Well, I mean, a lot of people I know I like
No
when
matter what comes in, I dance.
I love that. I think that's so important and so often skipped over, right? Because
Right,
in a
right.
culture of high achievers, we're like, great, okay, what's the next goal? It's like, whoa, like slow down, fully honor
We're
it.
constantly chasing it instead of celebrating it and anchoring into it and letting, and being there to receive more. We're constantly going after more.
Yes. So the word that's coming to me right now is savor. How can we like savor it like a delicious meal? It's like you're not going to scarf this like beautiful meal down, hopefully, right? You're going to enjoy it. And it's the same with money, right? What is the relationship that you want to have with your money?
Right,
I want it to stick around. I want it to feel very comfortable to come in. And when it goes out, I want to trust that it knows where it's going out, but it's
right.
always going to come back.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I want it to be comfortable enough to stick around and stick and be with me and grow. And when it's going out intentionally to make the world a better place. And part of that is how we look at it and what we're making sure is being done with it. Right. And that's when I talk about the bank accounts and all. It's like, people laugh at me because I have so many savings accounts or bank accounts. I said, but that's my way of being very intentional of where I want my money to go, of how I want my money to be and how I want it to be spent. So I am making sure that my money is comfortable enough and knows, okay, hey, this is where I want you to be. This is what you're going to be, used for. This is where it's going to go. I'm being very intentional, and it works because now it's not in just a one big huge bucket, which is for bills and everything, and then just gets spent God knows where because
Yeah.
our money to go spend, right? Because it's all in one account, when actuality we don't, right? So I think it's really, really important. So I'm gonna ask a question, and I wish that I would have known you when I first started my business, because I think this is a really important question, and it would have helped me when I was first starting my business. How can women begin creating internal safety
Mm,
for external abundance?
that is a beautiful question. So it starts with our morning. It starts with how we show ourselves how much of a priority we are
Mhm.
to the things that we say we want and the life we want to create. So, really anchoring into a sense of safety when we wake up. It's like, what would the highest version of me, like, how would she start her day? And it sounds so simple. I mean, I'm not saying anything that people haven't heard before, but like to actually implement it in a way that's authentic for you, that's the trick. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, you need to do 5 minutes of meditation and then you need to do 5 minutes of movement and then you need to like do this. And it's like, okay, great. But like, if I don't resonate with meditation, it's not going to
Like
land the
me,
same way.
I
No,
don't.
I mean, and I'm a spiritual teacher and I will be the first to admit I do not meditate in a quiet room by myself for like an hour. That is not part of my makeup. I'm a dancer. I go for a
I
walk.
told people that if I'm meditating, it means I'm laying down in the bed and I'm sleeping. And like, "No, you need to sit quietly with your hands out." And I'm like,
Not happening.
"Dude, that just it's not happening. It's not."
No.
I'm like, "I don't know if I'm wired differently in my DNA." And all these people are saying, "But just meditate or just journal it, meditate and then journal." And I like, "Okay, again, once I'm in my head, no journaling is happening, and I'm not going to sit still and just it's just not happening." I like what you're talking about, the dancing. I can do that. I move. I'll dance.
Yeah. So it's like finding something that's sacred to you, and you may have to experiment for like a month.
Right,
So,
right.
some of my
What
go
works what
tos,
what works for you? Yeah.
yeah, like some of my go tos, I do journal. I've been journaling since I was a little girl. That's like how I deal with life. But for somebody else, it might be, yeah, I'm going to go lift weights. And as I'm lifting weights, I'm going to be thinking about all of the things that I'm grateful for. So it's really about batching all of your like self-love stuff into what you're already doing. Heck, I don't care if you're brushing your teeth and you're just like looking at a post-it that says I'm awesome. Like, to me, that is a way of programming your brain and your nervous system first thing. Some of the worst things you can do to build inner safety: getting on social media first thing in the morning, getting on your email, reacting to the world, right? And that's the biggest distinction. Are you reacting to
Yeah.
your life, or are you responding to your life and creating your life? And that's
I
the
used to
difference.
check emails first thing in the morning
I did
after I
too. We
got up,
all have.
and
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I stopped doing that about a year ago. And now I have it to where I only check my emails twice a day. If I choose to go in there and check them, that's one thing, but I don't feel like I have to go in there. Like, I was in there this morning, but the reason why I was in there this morning was because Microsoft was down, right? And I got no emails yesterday, which was glorious, and at the same time, it wasn't because I was expecting one and I needed one to come in, and I knew it was sent, but I couldn't see any of it. And so then this morning, I went to go and see if it was fixed, and it was fixed. It was all there, and I'm like, "Awesome. Now I have, like, 80 freaking emails," and that sends my anxiety, just for the record, through the roof, okay? There are some people who can see that number up there on that phone, and it don't phase them. I am not one of them. Just saying, okay? Like, I have a friend who has showed me hers, and hers said, like, 3,000 and something, and the anxiety that I felt, and it's not even my phone or my email, was like I was like, "Oh, dear God, that would just send me into a panic attack. I can't. That's just no."
But
But
actually,
that's normally I don't look at those things, like, at first thing in the morning.
but you brought up a really good point. So I think part of designing an authentic morning, or like an authentic routine for self-love and self-care, could be for some people identifying what it is that sends your blood pressure through the roof. So it's like, okay, like without judgment, what like actually really sends me into a spiral? And for you, right, it's seeing the numbers. So okay, I know that it's extra important for me to build in parameters around email checking. Whereas for
Yep,
somebody else, it's like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. And I'm like, okay, well,
right.
check your email maybe after you have breakfast, right? And so it's really tailored to you. But to answer your question directly, like, get a solid morning routine that puts you as a priority and sets you up to send a signal to yourself and to everybody and the universe like, hey, she's fully online in her nervous system, in her brain, in her body, in her heart. And now she's ready, right, to offer her energy to the world. And I understand some people, have kids and are married and have like very stressful jobs, and all of that is true. And you are still very
You still
important.
have to do something for you. And I have to remind myself that because I have kids, and I have to remind myself, okay, look, get up 10 minutes earlier if that's what necessary, so that I'm able to listen to whatever I want to listen to, dance a little bit, and then I'm ready to go for my day. And I also don't want to check emails throughout the day, which is what I was used to doing from corporate. So when I started my business, that's what I immediately got into. And then I was like, okay, I'm not getting anything done. So then there had you right, which causes anxiety too, right? So that's when I have this automatic thing to send out saying, I've received your email. I answer twice a day. If you're a client, you have my number. If you need to talk to me now, you can text me. And if I'm available, I answer.
Good for
Once in the
you.
morning, once in the afternoon, that's it. And that's been a game changer. And again, some people have it where they answer they go in their emails once a day, right? It's because we know that we can get mind boggled down. I know I'm not going to do once a day because I don't want to see 60 to 100 emails like I used to in corporate, because that's all we had. And it was constantly 60 to 100 emails. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I don't want to do that. So that's why I say twice a day. But I'm in there and look, if it's not important, I've already answered it. After I've answered it, it's deleted, right? And if it's important, I need to keep it, then I move it to a folder. I'm organized. It's a thing. But again, it's finding what, and I love that because it's finding what works for you, right? We had another podcast where I talked about this, where if I'm in my head, I'm not gonna be able to journal to get it out. However, I can dance and move it out, and then I'm able to sit down and journal and
Beautiful.
write. So those are finding what works. And it got to a point where I was so aggravated. I mean, I put my hands down, slamming down to my coach and go, for the love of God, what part of do you not understand that when I'm in my head, ain't nothing going on a piece of paper? And one of the other coaches that was part of the mastermind, she was like, well, I do this. And I went, wait, tell me this. Tell me again. Okay, that I can do. Like I can, okay, because you got to get it out of your body, right? Because when you're holding it in your body, if you're not releasing it in some way,
Absolutely.
right? And so uh, just doing a quick 2-minute dance or whatever. And again, she says, if you don't look silly, then you're not doing it right. Um, I promise I look silly when I'm doing it. And just being able to move that energy out. Then if you feel like you want to journal, then journal. And that works for me. And again, it might not work for you, right? Diana journals. Diana does different dancing meditation, which I absolutely love. Listen to music and just move, right? And that I have another friend who does that. She listens to music and she just moves as a meditation type thing. I probably don't move that slowly. And I still dance. So it's finding what works. And I love that. One of the things that I'm curious of, because this hits home too, and you and I have so much in common when it comes to these things. So this is one of the reasons why this question, I put this down saying I wanted to talk about it. What does it look like to outgrow your family's money patterns with love? Because most of us aren't taught things about money, right? We're not taught how to manage it, much less talk about it. And so not only outgrow the money patterns, but also the habits, right? The way we look at it. What does that look like? How can someone intentionally take the steps to do that?
Yeah. So, the first step is knowing that loving your family and choosing what to believe or adopt are they're two separate
Two
things,
separate things. Mhm.
right? So, and really, it's speaking to that younger side of ourselves that's like, but I don't want to lose daddy's love, right? Or I don't want mom to think I'm greedy or whatever is going on when you think about changing or letting go of some of the programming. So it's really anchoring into that assurance. So step one is to assure your inner child that you're still lovable, even if you don't agree with everything that you saw growing up or that was a part of your family line. And then, really doing something symbolic to reassure her. So I always suggest to clients tapping, right? I just have them lightly tap one of the points. So a common one is right by the sternum, and just say, you know what? It is safe. It is safe for me to be lovable, and I'll think differently than my family around money or whatever it is that you're trying to shift. And I still deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay. So first we calm that scared little girl or boy that's worried that they're going to be abandoned if they change.
Mm-hmm.
Then step two is, what do I value now? as an adult. So kind of separating yourself from family and what they want. Like what are like the 3 to 5 core values? And what would I need to believe to live in accordance with those values? And then you can identify like behaviors or thoughts, right, that you saw growing up. Like, I'll just give an example from my own life. One of the things my father really instilled in me was a love of fine hotels and the theater. So when I was little, he would take me on all his trips to New York City and he'd go to meetings and like basically leave me in this like really nice hotel that we never paid for because it was always paid for by his boss. And I got to experience really nice things. And I'm like, wow, I really love this. And he took me to the theater and the ballet and instilled the love of the arts, which is what I still do today. I'm grateful for that. But when it came to money, he was very adamant to say, don't show what you have. Rich people are greedy. That's for them, not for us. Like, enjoy it while it's here. Right. But it's really not who we are. And there was this like change in his tone. And I was daddy's little girl. Right. So it's like I didn't want to upset him in any way. And I saw growing up as an adult where some of those scripts were coloring my decisions in business and also relationships. And it wasn't until I could see, like, okay, like I can love dad and he can love me. I can love the finer things in life and work accordingly for them. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be a greedy person if I'm a rich woman. And that was really, really, really eye opening. It sounds so basic, like from the outsider looking in, but he would randomly give me gifts and gifts of money because that's how he showed love. He didn't ever say, I love you. And I used to feel so ashamed. I'm like, does he think I can't earn my own money? Like, does he like, I had this whole story about it. And then one day I was like, no, he just wants to give me money because he loves me. And that's how he shows it. Thank you, Dad. That was it.
Right.
No story needed.
Right. I love that. The last thing, and I think this is really important too, is because this is where we're going to get into that lean in and trust thing. Want to talk about investing the 20K before knowing how it would work.
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't matter if it's 20K. It was for you, it was 20K. For
Yep.
my listeners or who are watching this on YouTube, and for my listeners, it doesn't matter the amount of money. Understand that is not what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking about investing, and I don't mean investing into stocks. I'm talking about investing on yourself, investing in your business, investing on yourself. So whether that's self growth, and for the record, I've been very, very, very intentional with my words this year. I want growth. I want financial growth. I want financial bank growth this year. Okay. Because again, we have to be, because the last 2 years I said I wanted growth. Well, I had growth. I had personal growth and self growth. Okay. We're done with that. Okay. We want some growth. Because we sometimes have to have those personal and self development and the deep growth. Right. And then, like I said, investing money in, for your business, for the business growth, for your personal growth before knowing, not only knowing, I want to say if it's going to work, but how it's going to work. Because so often our human brains are like, how?
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times we have to remind ourselves it's not for us to know how, right? But I hope everybody just tunes in really, really good right here, because we're going to talk about what you and I were talking about earlier with that leaning in part. But can you go into that for us?
Yeah. So it was the first time that I had invested in a year-long mentorship with a business coach. And everything in my body lit up when I said yes to it. And then, of course, right, when I went to put in my credit card number for those payments, I was like, okay, fine. Like, it was like, I think 2,000 a month. So if we're being really, really transparent,
It was
all
like
in all,
24K.
24K.
Right, because you were paying monthly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first couple of months, I was still kind of, in that light energy, like, this is possible. And then something around the third month was like, oh my God, like, can I do this? And all of my insecurities kicked in. And what I realized looking back now is it was requiring me to step into higher accountability with myself
Mhm.
and to not give my power away to a coach, to a program, to anything. And I had to make a decision, right? I
Mhm.
could give in to the fear and be like, all right, well, maybe I need to get like a full time job to pay for this or take out a personal loan. Like my mind was spinning. And then a quiet voice, which I call my intuition, was like, no, it's just requiring an up leveled identity of what you are used to. And you are totally capable of this. So,
Right, right.
so get on the phone. Let people know what you offer. Stop focusing on the payment and start focusing on what you have to offer the world fearlessly. A lot of people will say no. One or two people will say yes. Keep going. And I was like, thank you. Tears streaming down my face. And I remember getting on sales calls, like choking on my words. I'm like, oh my gosh. And, we had been taught this like fancy script that honestly never worked for me because
It doesn't work. That
I
fancy
hated it.
script does not work. Listen, everybody, okay? It does not work.
I hated
We
it.
are in
And
the age of you need to be yourself
yes,
and you need to talk about how things can shift, but those sales scripts just don't work and people can see straight through it.
yes. And I mean, so what I had to do, I remember this distinctly. I was in my little apartment. This is before I got married and all of this. I was like, I lit a candle and I was like, okay, help me like basically rip up this script and just speak from the heart and also use my gifts, right, to laser in on what people are not saying because that subtlety, right, is so important, not only in sales, but also in
Right,
relationships.
right,
And
right.
so, because there are oftentimes like a prospect's fears are what you're talking to on a consult, it's not their higher self.
Mhm.
And so I was like, no, let me speak to that higher version of them that really wants this dream. But that requires
Right,
me to get into that space before I'm on that phone call. So it
right,
was just an elevation of my identity and also my ego had to die, right? I was like, my life is so much more than like focusing and hyper focusing on whether I'm going to make this payment or not. Like that's a very granular way of thinking about things. It's logical, but it's not everything. What
right.
if I stepped into a bigger space? And what happened like over the next couple of months was really astonishing. Like I up leveled my relationships. I ended up breaking up with this guy who was, like I had moved across the country for. And like my whole life to the outside world looked like it had blown up. But I was the happiest I'd ever been. And I was priming myself for the man that I am now married to that I could not have called in or received if I had been stuck in that like very small scarcity mindset. And so
Right,
I
right.
thank goddess and spirit for that $24,000 experience. I mean, it taught me so much about myself and accountability and what I'm capable of.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, like you said, I mean, again, you have to look at it intentionally and say, okay, you know, um, is this the fear talking or has something shift to where I may not get the sales and I need to do some cuts, right? So, you're looking at it logically and intuitionally, and
Right.
that's important. I talk about, yes, I'm a logical person because I'm a fractional CFO and a money mentor. And I don't come from that way 100%. I put the holistic and the intentionality, the intuition into it because, again, it plays a part. They both go hand in hand. And you have to look at both sides of things. You have to ask yourself, when I had to make some difficult decisions last year of scaling some things back, I asked myself, okay, is this fear talking or is this the current situation of where we're at, right? Am I coming from the scarcity or is this the current situation where we're at? And this is how I can make sure that one, I'm okay and I can get back to where I want to be. And then I can add these things back. And I was able to answer, I'm not coming from scarcity. This is just the current situation. It's
Yeah.
temporary, it's a blip, it's a current situation. And that is big key is you being able to ask yourself and recognize what the answer is. And I love the fact of how you said, "Oh, wait, this is fear talking." You were able to ask and it was all fear talking. And when it's all fear talking, okay, why? And what does it
Mm-hmm.
mean you need to do instead? Right?
Exactly.
And I think that that's just truly important. And so again, making sure that you understand which side is actually talking to you and making the decision from not coming from that scarcity or that fear, but making it of, okay, this is just where I'm at. This is what okay, you know what? Right. This is fear talking. Okay, what do I do? Well, I'm going to go out and make some sales, right? Because if I've been saying nobody's been coming, but I ain't been talking to anybody,
Exactly. The actions have to match up.
right? Y'all know how I feel about this manifestation, okay? I love manifesting, but I love active manifesting, okay? Sitting on our tush and going, I paid 30,000. Why is nobody coming and paying for me? That's not how this works. If it did, newsflash, everybody would be doing it. Just saying. I mean, if that's how, right? I mean, if that's how it worked, what would stop anybody? I mean, come on.
I also
And I
want
know
to
that there are
say,
people out there that have taught that and it still doesn't work. I promise you, that is not how this works.
well, and I also feel like for business owners, or if you're just like dabbling with starting your own business, it brings up all of our shit. Everything you didn't even know you had, all the
Right?
insecurities.
And,
It's
and
right
just when you
there.
think you've gotten past it, just when you think you've gotten past some of it, newsflash, more shows up.
Yeah. So, I don't think starting a business is for the faint of heart. It's definitely a
It's not.
choice that comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of risk, and a lot of rewards. But you've got to be ready, or should I say, your nervous system and identity, right? Reconciliation have to be solid. And that is the internal work that no program, no coach, no amount of money can do for you.
Right. And yeah, yes, you can hire someone to help you through the process.
Sure.
And if you're not going to do the work, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Um, I absolutely love this conversation because it's just money plays such a big, huge, important thing, and how it affects our nervous system and how it affects us. And I love all of it, and it's grounding and expansive all at the same time. For my listeners who want to feel calmer and more connected in their relationship with money, can you tell them about I think it's the grounded goddess activation, or did you have a new?
No, that
Okay.
is it. And I will, yes, I'll make sure that I get you an updated link for that. But I work with so many people that are high achievers that already know. They already know I'm in my head like 90% of the time. I need to get down there somehow. And so I created a very specific short, it's under 9 minutes, for you to listen to. You can do it while you're, washing the dishes, or if you are a meditator, bless you, you can sit there and listen to my voice. I have put a specific binaural beat frequency behind my voice. So it's specifically designed to get you out of anxiety and out of your head so that you can actually hear what's true for you and move
Love it.
from that place to make your decisions. So it's called the Grounded Goddess Activation, because when we are grounded, the world is ours. When we are ungrounded, the world gets to us very quickly.
Right. Very
So
much
yeah,
so. Very much.
grab that.
Very
It's
much.
totally free. And I wanna hear how you guys how it changes your day. And maybe if you don't have a morning routine, it would be the perfect thing to start with, and just play it while you're taking a shower.
Right, right. And newsflash, y'all, I'm going to be getting it. So you need to go ahead. You need to make sure you get it because I'm all about having different tools in my belt. Like, that's just me. And of course, if this episode has you realizing, oh shit, that your money stress isn't just about math and it's about safety and trust and leadership, then it is time for clarity. And you know what I'm going to tell you? Book a wealth alignment call with me. It's a totally free call. We'll look at how your emotional patterns, your cash flow, and your systems are working together or against you so that your money can finally feel supportive. The link for this will be in the show notes, as well as the link for the Grounded Goddess activation. And until next time, remember, as I always say, confidence and cash are the ultimate power duo. Go check in with your money. And as always, have a fantastic and wealthy day. Till next time.